Welcome back to Beyond the Whistle, Boise's very own sports show focused on giving you the best opinions about sports from the collegiate and professional levels. We'll be your host throughout this episode. I'm Andrew Vincent.
And I'm Alex East. On this week's episode of Beyond the Whistle, we'll be analyzing last week's wild Super Bowl game and the whirlwind of trades happening in the NBA.
So, obviously, over the weekend, we had the Super Bowl, and that was a wild one.
Yeah,
that was really good.
I said, did I not, it was going to come down to a field goal.
You did?
I did make that prediction. I was correct. I did think the Eagles were going to take it.
You guessed the Eagles. I did say that the Chiefs would win.
Yeah, but I knew it was going to be a close game.
Yeah.
The way that it was won to me was like a little bit underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it was like more of like a last-second field goal. You know what I mean? I mean, it was a smart way to win the game.
Yeah.
It was just super underwhelming.
It was definitely unfortunate. I mean, everyone was because up to that point, it was like one of the best Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Honestly,
absolutely.
that was people I've been able to watch.
Yeah.
So.
And there's been a controversial play leading up to that on third down. They get a holding call.
Yep, everyone's talking about the PI that happened on Juju Smith-Schuster. He did the wheel route. I think that I've seen a couple angles. I think it is a penalty. I'm not a huge fan of it being called in that moment.
Yeah, it's too big of a moment to call that play. Here's what I'm confused about. So it was a 5-yard penalty, right?
It was, I think so.
Yeah, but it was 3rd and 9. So what I don't understand is how do they give them the first down there?
Then it might have not been. It might have been a 10-yarder. Or maybe it's just spot it wherever the penalty was, or automatic first down.
Yeah.
I think it might be 5 yards and automatic first. But either way, that really did save the Chiefs.
Oh, absolutely.
If they,
that would have been 4th down.
Well, they still would have been able to kick the field goal.
Yes,
it would have been 38-35.
There would have been, what, a minute and a half left?
A minute and a half for Jalen Hurts to go back. And that's why a lot of people are kind of bummed out because they were really looking for, like, up to that point, it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
And
that last, like, you were going to get the last, like, can Jalen Hurts do it? Mm-hmm. No, but, I mean, I was happy about it because
Andrew wanted the Chiefs to win.
Yeah, I wanted the Chiefs pretty bad, but
yeah. Speaking of like the MVP conversation, obviously Patrick Mahomes had a great game, but I do arguably think that Jalen Hurts, even on the losing side, could have won that MVP. He had 3 rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown to AJ Brown.
Mm-hmm. 3
rushing touchdowns. That's pretty wild.
Yeah,
I think he had 60 yards and 6 attempts.
Yeah, he had, he had 70 yards rushing on 15 attempts. He was their leading rusher by 8 carries. So they were really using him heavy.
Yeah.
And then also he had 304 yards passing.
Yeah.
So he honestly impressed a lot of people. He impressed me.
Yeah.
I think he really solidified himself as like, okay, he is a top quarterback in the NFL. And honestly, a lot of people, I probably agree that he did outplay Patrick Mahomes because he had to do more. Mm-hmm. But let's not forget, he did give the Chiefs 7 points when he fumbled it early in I think it was the second quarter.
Yeah, it was the second quarter.
So,
and that was interesting to me because it was weird. You felt like the momentum was going to shift in that moment when they get that defensive touchdown, but then it didn't. And then the Eagles came back. They didn't let the momentum shift, and they continued to play out that first half and took a pretty good lead.
Yeah.
So what changed to the Eagles' defense? And this is a huge topic I want to talk about. And an ESPN guy explained it the best.
Okay.
I'm going to reiterate what he said. Okay. Andy Reid is a genius play caller.
Yeah.
Seriously, an offensive genius.
Yeah.
So essentially what he did is ran the same play back to back from different angles. So he put the receiver in motion, right?
You're talking about the two touchdowns that they pretty much free.
Same exact thing.
Yep.
So then he's going to see how the Eagles defense is going to handle the motion, and they do what's called a rock and roll. So the corner replaces the safety, and the safety will go and cover the guy going into motion.
Yes.
So they did that. They covered it perfectly, right? Do the rock and roll. He does the same play again. The receiver goes into motion. They do the rock and roll, replace one another. The receiver steps on the ground and shifts back outward.
Yeah.
Easy touchdown.
Yeah.
And that's why people were like, why were they so wide open? Because he ran the same play, and then he does it again. Mm-hmm. Their next drive.
Yeah,
wide
it
open
shouldn't have
touchdown.
happened the second time. It was the opposite side. On the left side originally was the first, or the right side. But yeah, that was impressive. I mean, they really got 2 walk-in touchdowns off of those plays.
Just from running the right motion on second down, seeing how they handled it, and then reversing
he's
it.
playing chess and everyone's playing checkers because he's thinking 2 steps ahead of like, okay, if I run this play, then everyone's going to think that, okay, it's coming again.
Yeah.
Nope, it's going the other way.
And he's paying attention, and that's really important and why he's so good at what he does. Because the fact that he could recognize that and change it, reverse it, one play after is really remarkable.
And he also has the greatest quarterback, the quarterback who has had the greatest start to a career ever. Like,
well, I don't know. Brock Purdy is like.
Oh, please. Okay, no. Patrick Mahomes
kidding.
has been now to 3 Super Bowls, 1, 2, and his worst seasons are ending up in the AFC Championship game. So it's
I would like to touch on that offensive line because it's something that we do say doesn't get talked about enough. The Eagles had 0 sacks on Mahomes versus their 70 sacks in the regular season. That's a huge disparity.
Yeah.
The Kansas City's offensive line is probably the best in the league.
Well, they were smart enough to realize, okay, when we got smacked by the Bucs because Patrick Mahomes had no time, they were getting through to him like that. They revamped their offensive line, and look at it. I mean, you give Patrick Mahomes, or really any quarterback, enough time, he's going to be able to make the right plays. And in the second half, he had like a 99.7 passer rating, like out of 100.
He was 21 for 27.
Yeah, he was perfect in the second half. But even in the first half, I thought he did pretty much everything.
21 for 27 is pretty.
Yeah, he was very efficient because he only had 182 yards passing.
Yeah.
But he had 3 touchdowns passing and just really efficient.
I want to talk about Pacheco, though.
He was big.
He was huge for them.
And we
always talk about the Eagles defending the run. So he was huge. Let's talk about his stats a little bit.
Yeah, he had... Or do you have the stats?
No,
go
ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, he had, I didn't want to cut you off. He had 76 yards rushing and a touchdown.
Yeah.
So he made an impact for sure.
Yeah. He looked really good, and they utilized him the most out of anyone. I also thought it was interesting. The Eagles' tight end, I thought was actually Goddard was really impressive.
Yeah, he made some phenomenal catches.
Absolutely. Some thought maybe it wasn't a catch, his big play, but once they replayed it, and you can see once he gets possession, his foot technically was still down.
I thought it was a catch.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that like it's so nitpicky, and you're looking at the fine details, but I'm like, he caught that ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Pacheco, back to Pacheco. Pacheco allowed Patrick Mahomes, they had to acknowledge the run. So he could like play action off of it and like really have a lot of openings. So
I would like to like kind of know how much Patrick Mahomes' ankle was affecting him because you could see he wasn't running the same in the second half. He was slow.
Yeah.
He was slow and he was grimacing as he was running. And I would have liked to know, he had that one run that probably could have been a touchdown. Maybe if he wasn't hurting.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned the fact that he was hurt just because you forget about it because he makes you forget because he still goes out there and does what he does.
I mean, it's the Super Bowl. I really think anyone would have done that unless they had like a torn ACL.
Yes, but would they have been able to actually like
make an impact?
Really overcome? I know they would want to play, but would they be able to do it? I mean, he was hurt and played the entire second half and played it perfect. And that run, he outran, like that was the run that set up the field goal and them getting to that position. And he outran both of the defensive linemen with a hurt ankle. Like he just makes things happen, and he did it again on Sunday.
He's great at scrambling. I mean, I'm not going to say anything other than that. He's amazing. He's really good. I think he gets the ball out of his hands too, and that's why they avoided so many sacks as well. He was really, really smart. I think because his ankle was hurting, he knew maybe he wasn't going to be as good at scrambling, and I thought he was getting rid of the ball a lot quicker than he typically does when pressure comes. So, I thought it was a really fun game to watch, obviously, until like the last minute.
Yeah, and, 0 turnovers. Like, he was flawless.
What, the Eagles had 1 turnover?
The Eagles had that 1 turnover, which was big. But then, also the Kadarius Toney punt that set up that touchdown.
Yes.
That was really big, too.
Yes.
The
and
Chiefs
that was just a mistake on the Eagles. I mean, in that moment, that is the absolute last thing that you can allow.
Yeah. Well, Kadarius Toney is really good. If you look back at his college tape, like he's kind of got that punt return gene, like where he just makes things happen. And yeah, I mean that was the longest punt return in Super Bowl history, which surprised me because it was only like 60 yards. But either way, that really set up their one of the real route scores that we were talking about, and you know, helped change the game.
Yeah, I mean, in the first half, I thought the Eagles had it in the bag. The way the Chiefs' defense couldn't get off the field. The offense was not, like, making any plays. Jalen Hurts looked so good. He was running through the Chiefs' defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then everything changed.
So do you
and
think...
I think Andy Reid is the MVP because how precise he was in his play calling in the second half blew up the Eagles' defense.
Yeah, well, that's why I went with the Chiefs. I mean, I knew that the Eagles probably had, they had A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard. Like, I thought they had the better weapons, the better overall
They did
team,
when you look at the stats as well, other than Kelsey.
I know Jalen Hurts kind of played better in the game, but I would still say Patrick Mahomes is better, and then Andy Reid is better than Nick Sirianni.
I am a huge fan of Andy Reid. I don't love the Chiefs, but I love Andy Reid, and I think he's phenomenal. He's an offensive guy, and it really showed in this game.
He'll go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time because he won in Philadelphia. Now he's come to the Chiefs. He's building a dynasty.
Yeah.
So he's been around for a while too. He'll probably start to, depending on what him and Patrick are able to do these next 5+ years, he could potentially surpass Bill Belichick.
You think so?
Let's think about it. He has 3 Super Bowls now, 4 until 7, and then if you would argue that he's like a better offensive mind, maybe not a defensive guy, but just also depending on the...
But he's doing what Belichick did. He's taking a quarterback and he's building an entire franchise around that quarterback.
But he'll be able to say he did it with 2 different franchises.
Yeah, but let's just look at the Chiefs. It's a similar story as the Patriots. They didn't have these insanely huge wide receiver weapons that everyone was crazy about, you know? They had 2 white guys who ran the league and Tom Brady, and that was really it. And a great defense, but I think that what Andy Reid is doing, it's very similar because the Chiefs lost Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Hunt wasn't playing. Kareem Hunt wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Is he coming back next
Kareem
season?
Hunt's been off he's on the Browns. He's been off the Chiefs for a minute. But
who am I thinking of?
I think you might be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. No, I don't know.
They have someone coming back in the off season.
Yeah. That's what's also really scary about this is because this was supposed to be, Patrick Mahomes said it in his Super Bowl speech or the parade speech. This is supposed to be their rebuilding year. They lost Tyreek Hill. They were the 3rd highest, or rookies on their team, they had the 3rd highest amount of snaps. So most of the team is really young, and they went out there and won the Super Bowl in a year that a lot of people counted them out. When they start, I think people are gonna want to start playing with Patrick Mahomes now. Oh wow, I can get a Super Bowl playing with that guy. Yeah. And I think this similar to how kind of Tom Brady was, where people wanted to come play with him. I think that's what's going to happen to the Chiefs now.
Yeah,
and
they're building a culture. They're building a culture, and that's what Bill Belichick did at the Patriots.
Yeah.
Which he has not been able to do recently.
Yeah, and that's where, obviously right now, Bill Belichick is the top of the top. But if he continues to go down, Andy Reid continues to go up, you never know. And obviously when you got Patrick Mahomes, who's people are saying, could he pass Brady? I think it's a little too early to have that convo, but it's also not because he's had such a crazy start to his career that if he continues it at any rate,
I don't know if anyone will have the longevity of Brady's career.
No, he won't.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will, but
I don't think the longevity. So he's not going to get the all-time passing yards, all-time this, all-time that. But I think people will be able to, if he got 5 Super Bowl rings and had a dynasty with the Chiefs, I think people would be that's the best quarterback I've ever seen. Yeah. And that might be, I don't know. It's going to be really tough. Tom Brady is literally on a different
quarterbacks, though. They're very different quarterbacks.
Completely. But that's where I feel they'd probably look at Patrick and be wow, he's got the skill, the success, the MVPs, I think he's going to have a lot of hardware by the end of his career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see. Should we get into NBA?
Let's get into some NBA trades. Yeah. There has been an absolute whirlwind happening in the NBA, and it all came at once, and it all came really fast, and I have been shocked by the trades. Yeah. I don't know, have you been? Because I've been shocked.
I think the whole NBA world was shocked, and I think this is one of the crazier deadlines that people have seen in a long time.
I think it's the craziest one I've ever seen.
Yeah, to start off, obviously to everyone, Kevin Durant going to the Suns was what everyone was like, oh my God.
I didn't think when Kyrie left Brooklyn, I thought maybe them two had issues, and that's why Kyrie was leaving. Yeah. But it seems to be a deeper thing than that. It seems to be an issue with Brooklyn's organization in general.
Well, I really don't even think it had much to do with Kevin. I think Kyrie was just an issue with outside the facility. It was just a bad relationship. Yes. So yes, Kyrie goes. But I think there was enough respect with Kevin that they were like, okay, we're probably going to be trying to rebuild, so we'll try to ship you out. And I think that's what happened. And he landed on a team that he's now paired up with Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and a really good coach, Monty Williams.
I don't dislike the Suns at all. I think they're kind of exciting to watch, and I think you add Kevin Durant to that, and they're going to be even more exciting.
Yeah, they were in the Western Conference Finals last year. I think they were our preseason pick.
They were.
Until I changed my preseason.
Yeah, but what was funny was that I had the Suns also. Remember, they were so good at the beginning of the season, and then they kind of just fell off. And I think they're starting to climb again.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see once KD comes back from his ankle injury, right? Ankle, how the culture and energy is going to shift.
I think he'll fit in flawlessly. You have a point guard in Chris Paul, who's just a facilitator. He's going to get, and then Devin Booker, I think, is the perfect match for him because it's they're really not super selfish in my opinion, and I think they both can move well without the ball. And
you think so?
I do. I think that
I think at times Booker can be a little bit selfish. He holds the ball for a little bit too long. Yeah. I think from watching him play, and you know more about basketball than I do, but I think sometimes in the bigger moments he does tend to hold on to the ball too much.
Yeah, sometimes it can feel that way. People would probably have said the same thing about Kobe.
Probably,
at the end of the day, they're that guy.
Yeah.
So it's who do you want the ball with at the end of the game? But I think that would be, and then DeAndre Ayton, a lot of people kind of sleep on him because he was a #1 pick and he hasn't necessarily become this crazy all-star.
But he's become such a great role player for the Suns, a phenomenal role player.
I would say he's a B+ player. He's a 17 and 11, 17 and 10 guy, and that's really what they need.
Yeah.
Just a frontline big guy.
They have 3 superstars now.
Yeah.
They need
2 because I think Chris Paul's a little bit.
Okay, yes,
but
Chris Paul was a superstar.
He was, still
absolutely.
Has it in his,
yes. I would say he's not in his prime. Well, he's not in his prime, but he's not
He's pushing it in age. He's
declining.
He's 38, so he's old.
Yeah, he's old. Him and LeBron are they from the same draft class?
Not the same. I think Chris Paul was actually a little bit ahead of him.
Okay.
But either or, the Suns add Kevin Durant, and that's going to be a team that a lot of people are saying are the best in the NBA now. We'll have to see because they haven't played together. But the Nets.
Do you think it could end up looking like Golden State when they got Kevin Durant?
No, I don't think so because I think Chris Paul's aging. Honestly, KD. We'll have to see. He's kind of
he's getting older.
He's getting older. He's
well.
hit and miss with injuries. I don't think they're going to go on a three-peat or anything. I think they're in a win-now mode. This year, of course, they could totally win. They got a stacked team. But, the Nets got a whole lot back. They got 4 first-round picks.
What does it mean for the Nets, though? Is this going to be a complete rebuild for them, or is it going to be a 2-year rebuild?
I was saying I really didn't even know what the hell they were doing at first because it's the first trade with Kyrie going to the Mavs. They kind of got Finney-Smith and then God, who's the other guy? But either way, they were guys who were going to be surrounding Kevin Durant, in my opinion, to make the Nets still a good, viable playoff team. But then when they traded Kevin Durant, I was like, okay, what?
Yeah.
But honestly, I was watching a little bit of the Nets highlights the other day. They could be really good because Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson are 2 really good defenders, really young. I think that they have. Oh, Spencer Dinwiddie was the other guy with.
Well,
Finney
they're
Smith,
going to be a really young team now, and what they have 4 first-round draft picks.
Yeah, now they have 4 first-round draft picks and like
so they're
3
going to be
seconds.
really young. So I give like a couple years, and they could be really, really good.
The reason I hesitate, I mean, it is a rebuild, but I
Yeah.
also think that like these guys having more of an opportunity, like Mikal Bridges, like he just dropped 45 the other day. Like I think they'll be able to shine a little bit more, and defensively they look really good. And they were already the 4th team in the East, like the 4th team.
Yeah.
So it's like they kind of have that running for them. I think they make the playoffs this year and surprise a lot of people.
Maybe
So that's my take on it.
Maybe
But
like a Miami, like 2 years ago.
maybe. I don't know if they make it far. I think they make it to the first round and give like a good team like a run for their money.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, we'll see. It will be for sure a rebuild. Obviously, they don't have a superstar anymore. But
Let's talk about Dallas now.
Dallas.
With the addition of Kyrie, you already have ultra superstar, I'd say, Luka Doncic.
Yes.
So how does Kyrie fit into Dallas's team?
Well, I think it will work out well because Luka Doncic is a guy who, obviously LeBron's way more athletic, but they're both relatively similar in the fact that they like really distribute the ball. They always have the ball in their hand, which is what, I mean, Kyrie played with LeBron back in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And the issue that the Mavs have had is that when Luka goes off the court, they have no one can facilitate their offense, get buckets on their own. And Kyrie, that's what he does. He gets buckets. And so you add him into that mix, I think that it's going to help their secondary bench. And then also, it just adds another superstar. When you get to the playoffs, like those are the guys that elevate and lift your team to wins.
Yeah.
And I think that Luka already just elevates like 10 times in the playoffs, and then you add Kyrie, who's also gets better in the moment.
Luka literally can do it on his own. Like, I wouldn't say there's very many teams that are like that, but Dallas isn't all that well-rounded without Luka.
Yeah.
So it's I think what he does is pretty impressive, and he can
phenomenal.
I don't think he's going to win a championship, just him, but he can get them pretty far. He did last year.
It reminds me of
So now they have the addition of Kyrie,
Yeah, it reminds me of a younger LeBron really on Cleveland, where it's like he's doing all this stuff and like really is the team, but they need a little bit more. And honestly, I mean, some people are skeptical of the trade because you don't know what's going to happen after the season, if it's going to be worth it. But at the end of the day, like, you got to be in the win now mode.
Both of these could flop because we've seen it before with both of these players. I mean, they went to Brooklyn. Not saying that I don't think it was going to be bad, but like it wasn't great.
Yeah.
Wasn't what anyone expected.
Definitely one of the bigger failures in NBA history of like bringing like stars together, and it just flopped. But
Similar
I think
to Lakers now.
No, not the case at all. Well, actually,
last year,
kinda. Russell was pretty bad. But let's get into that now because the Lakers made a lot of moves, and I was really impressed.
We had talked about it a few weeks ago,
Pelinka.
too. Something that we talked about was what do the Lakers need to be doing? And one of the things you had said was they need to start making trades right now before the deadline.
And what did they do? Rob Pelinka really surprised a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so they trade away Russell Westbrook, which is addition by subtraction. He was already starting to cause, there were reports of him like having issues with Darvin Ham again, and this and that. And again, he just doesn't fit with LeBron and AD. He can't shoot. He turns it over. He doesn't really play defense. Like, I get that he's a fan favorite. He hustles hard, but that just wasn't a good fit.
Yeah.
They went out and got exactly what they needed. They got three-point shooting and defense and wing defenders. So, like, they got D'Angelo Russell from the Timberwolves, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt, who I think is someone that a lot of people are going to start knowing his name. Jared Vanderbilt, I think he's going to be a huge piece for the Lakers coming off the bench, and a really big hustle guy. Yeah. Just does all the little work that, you know.
But that's what they need.
That's what they need.
And one of the things we talked about was too many superstars, and they just needed role players.
Yes.
So I think that it could work out really well.
I agree. I was a little bummed out when Kyrie didn't land with the Lakers because
apparently there were reports though that he wanted to go there.
Oh, but of course he wants to go to the Lakers.
But they didn't want to send him there, the Nets.
No, they didn't. And it actually, funny, would have made way more sense for the Nets to take that trade, because if they're going in a rebuild, then they would have gotten like way more first-round picks back. They would have probably had like 7 first-round picks. But it was almost like an FU to the Lakers, because like, we're not going to send you Kyrie.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think Kyrie actually might still come to the Lakers after. I mean,
But
he's a free agent after this.
Who knows, though,
year.
what's going to happen with Dallas? Because it could end up being a really good thing, and he might want to stay there. Especially if you think that Luka is like a younger LeBron. So maybe he wants to play with the younger version of LeBron.
Totally be viable. But I guess what I was trying to get at is I think this actually helps the Lakers more by not getting Kyrie because they added a lot of depth.
They needed. And that's why I always say that my Celtics are so good because we have so much depth, which is what the Lakers lacked.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and they got wing defenders, D'Angelo Russell, who's a really good, distributor of the ball. Pick and roll, we've seen it a couple games now, him and AD. And
now
they look
when
good.
your star player spends more than half the season on the bench, it's fine because you got a bunch of role players, huh?
At the end of the day, I know she was saying
trades,
that
though,
AD, yeah.
I think he is a hospital bill.
Yes.
For them. And I think they're spending way too much money on him to have him sit out for more than half of the season.
Yeah, I totally hear you.
Not that they have to do it now, but at the end of the season, I think it's...
all valid points. And I think that after the season, the Lakers really are going to look at that. Unless they, totally had a bunch of success in the postseason, I think... Yeah, they probably would look at shopping AD because it's been a continuous issue year after year where he can't stay on the floor. But the issue is when he's on the floor, he's like a top 10 player at least, sometimes a top 5 player.
Yeah.
So it's especially at this point in the season, you're not going to get rid of him. But maybe after if it doesn't work out. But across the door from the Lakers, the Clippers, they made some moves too, and I was pretty impressed.
Not only that, they are building their own stadium right across from SoFi Stadium.
Yeah.
It's in the works right now, and by next season it should be done. So that's really exciting for them now.
Yeah.
I'm excited
maybe
to
they'll
see.
be able to sell it out, but I don't know if they will.
I
There's
don't
a lot
know.
more Laker fans out there than Clippers.
Yes, but in recent years, I think, at least in the last 2 years, I think with the decline of the Lakers a little bit, not saying that they're still going to be bad, but they have progressively declined after their championship. I think that there are more Clippers fans coming out, and I'm from LA, so I've seen that starting to happen. And it's kind of exciting that they're getting their own stadium as they're beginning to progress. I watched them last night against the Suns, and they looked really good.
Well, they'll be scary, and hopefully the Lakers don't even have to play them because I think that's a matchup that they don't want to see.
Yeah. Kawhi needs to stay healthy, though.
They're such a wild card because of him. Kawhi, is so good. He's a top 5 player when he's healthy, and he's playing consistently. And then you have Paul George. They just made the trades that they made. They got Bones Highland from the Nuggets, who's a really good young piece. I think he could turn into something big for them. They got Mason Plumlee to back up Zubac, and Eric Gordon for extra shooting and veteran leadership. So I think that they do have a better roster coming out of the deadline. It just really, like you said, it's going to come down to Kawhi if he stays on the court.
Yeah.
Because
he's so good, and sometimes I forget just because of. I think there's been a lot of controversy around him too after he left the Spurs and then went to the Raptors and then wanted out of the Raptors, and there's been so much surrounding him, and he hasn't really played in a little bit, and I have forgotten how good he is. Yeah. And then you watch him play, and he's phenomenal. Yeah. And him and Paul George together. Yeah. So I'm really excited to kind of see how the Clippers turn out at the end of this season.
We'll see. I mean, obviously, if they can make it work, that'd be really cool for the Clippers, LA, whatever. I mean, I'm more of a Laker guy, so I want that to go. But, I mean, Kawhi, we can forget that he literally won a championship with Toronto 2 years ago. He is that guy. Yeah. But he just doesn't play. He's going through a lingering injury, but he'll miss 10 games, then play and drop 30, and then miss another 5.
But it makes me feel like it's not really the injury. I don't know, because he's had this before on the Spurs where he wanted to leave and they wouldn't trade him, so he said he was hurt. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he wants to leave the Clippers, though. There hasn't been any talk about that, so maybe it is a lingering injury. I don't know.
I don't know. You never really know with him.
He's a very quiet, you
he's
don't really
funny,
hear
though.
much
He's funny in his own way because
Yeah.
he's
very private, though.
Exactly. Yeah, that's for sure.
But let's talk a little bit about the shift because, I feel like there was this big disparity between the East and the West this season, especially at the beginning where the East just looked so much better than the West did. And now we have all these guys from the East moving over to the West. So I want to know what you think about kind of there's this new shift where I think the West is going to start to kind of look really good.
Yeah, well, for the East side, you were looking at Brooklyn potentially like getting in the way of the Bucks or the Celtics, or that's another team. Just get them out of the way.
Yeah.
Now it's an easier path for the Celtics, the Bucks, the Sixers, Cavs, whoever you want to look at. But then now you go to the West when we've been talking about like the Wild Wild West. Who's it going to be? It's like a 3-game difference between the 6th seed and the 13th seed.
Yeah.
That's all going to change because now you have the Mavs who are going to elevate, the Suns who are going to elevate, the Lakers who are going to elevate. Hey, the Lakers. By the way, I'm changing my pick.
You can't change
I
it.
am changing my pick because the trade deadline.
Remember when didn't I say Celtics Suns though? I did.
No, we both said the Bucks and the Suns.
No, I said Celtics.
You said Celtics?
Of course, I'm going to go with my Celtics.
We're gonna have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, no, I said Celtics
either way,
and Suns.
I think it was last episode or whatever episode. I said the Pelicans and the Nets.
Yes, you did, and that it was.
And I'm changing it to the Lakers and the Bucks. I think that the Bucks are going to make it, and then I think the Lakers beat the Suns in the Western Conference Finals. But either way, like that's what changes the whole landscape is that like no one was even talking about the Suns and the Lakers potentially being there.
Yeah.
And after the trade deadline,
I mean, at the beginning of the season, we were about the Suns, but
beginning of the season, but then they took such a big turn that it's like
but this changes everything. I mean, like you said, the West, everything that's happened now changes everything.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I see way more hope for Dallas than the Lakers.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you really think about it, the Lakers have, in my opinion, more pieces.
If they could get AD back and healthy.
Yeah, well, he's been back and he's been playing good. I mean, he like on bad games, like he has like 20 points and like 12 rebounds. Like his good games are like 35 and 17.
If they can keep him healthy through the postseason, then I agree with you.
Okay,
I just don't think he's gonna stay healthy through the postseason.
Is no team in their right mind would want to see the Lakers in the playoffs, and they're gonna push it like they're probably gonna be in the play-in. But they will beat their playing game. They're gonna shoot up the standings right now because
Celtics Lakers.
Ooh, that would be fun. That would be fun. That's a possibility. I didn't even think about that. That's a possibility. But honestly, I'm looking at it.
I don't see it happening when you have the Suns now.
Well,
with the team that they have.
Yeah, that's gonna be a really tough team to beat. But I think if there was a team, as much of a wild card pick as it is, I would say the Lakers are the best potential because the AD could cause a lot of trouble for Ayton. Obviously LeBron, I'd say, and KD.
Let's not forget about Golden State
cancel
though.
out.
We can't leave Golden State out because they always somehow they are like. I'm trying to think who I can compare them to. At the beginning of the season.
The modern day Spurs.
No,
maybe?
I'm trying to think of like I would say, remember at the beginning of the season, we were like, don't count Kansas City out. Patrick Mahomes always gets in there somehow. I feel like that's like Steph Curry in Golden State.
We'll see. I mean, they just traded away. Well, I guess they got Gary Payton, the second back, which is really big for them. I think that was when they traded or let him go in the summer. He's a really good defender for them. Energy guy, just does all the little things. So I think that's big for them. But they did trade away James Wiseman.
Yeah, they did.
Which is kind of just, I mean, he was the number 2 overall pick. And now he's just out the door 2 years later, which is pretty unfortunate for Warriors fans. But you're right. They are a team that you don't want to see either because they can shoot you out of the building.
And I am a Celtics fan, and I can tell you.
Yeah.
I don't want to see them again.
They will shoot you out of the building if they're hot. So that's not a team that anybody wants to see. So, yeah, the West, all of a sudden, like you said, it's a change of landscape.
There's just been a huge shift now. And it honestly makes me more excited for the postseason and to watch the NBA a little bit more this year, just because I feel like now these teams are going to start to solidify themselves, which is always really fun to watch. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And I think, now the West has the teams that probably stack up just as equal to the East now. So absolutely.
It's going to be really exciting to watch. Are you sticking with your pick of the
Celtics Suns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. It's not a bad one to stick with.
I see it. I mean, we almost just beat the Bucks a few nights ago with Tatum out, Jaylen Brown out, Al Horford out, and Marcus Smart out.
Yeah.
So we just have, when I talk about depth, so much depth.
Yeah.
I mean, Derek White led that game in threes.
I don't know.
Our sixth man.
Oh,
Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah, Malcolm Brogdon.
We just have a lot of depth, and it's really exciting to like see those guys going when you have the stars out, and we can still perform so well.
Yeah, I mean, you guys.
Sometimes even better.
won the NBA Finals freaking last year, so you're going to be right there. You guys didn't really make any moves at the deadline, but I don't think you needed to.
Our head coach just got named as the official head coach under contract now, so
really,
yeah, so that's exciting. Really exciting
well, that's
to see.
You know, if you first half of a season you become the all-star leading coach, then okay, I think you deserve a contract.
Yeah, probably.
So that's exciting for him. And then speaking of that, the All-Star break is coming up this weekend. And
this weekend, and you told me to watch it, so I'm gonna watch it.
I'm gonna quiz you on our next episode.
Okay.
I'm just playing, but yeah, I do recommend anyone watch it. I think it's gonna be fun this year. It's gonna be a different style of like, they pick the players the moment before the game, then they just go out there and play. There's lots of challenges and skill things that they do. So I'm excited to watch it. I encourage anyone else to as well. But yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll be back here next week
to talk about some more.
To talk about it all more.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today.
And we also want to know what topics or stories you want us to discuss on our next episode. So comment below or DM our Instagram account at Beyond the Whistle BSU to send us your topic requests.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. We want to send a huge thank you to both of our producers and the rest of the team for making this episode happen. I'm Alex East.
And I'm Andrew Vincent. Join us next week for a whole new episode of our mini episodes.